for short-term rentals, whatever number they
Are we like blasted? They're loaded.
initially chose there, they're cutting back.
Please.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I forget, I found an artist to do upgrade the, yeah, through another artist. And we'll work on it. So she'll be coming here next week to look at the mural. Julie, the lady will be coming, so to see a young girl, goes to Providence College.
So John, Bill Down is not on the map.
Oh, yeah.
No, your father is.
His father is, so it's.
All right,
We talked about that the other day at Wilbur's.
any additions to the minutes of the last regular meeting held on January 9th or the special meeting held on January 18th? Any additions or corrections to either of those 2 minutes? Motion by trustee Root to approve the minutes of both meetings without any corrections. Second?
I'll second it.
Seconded by trustee Joe. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion is carried. We'll officially open up a public hearing this evening on proposed local law number 1, which merely means it's the first proposed local law that we've had in 2023, entitled Chapter 118, Food and Drink Establishments, Article 4, Obstruction of Store Windows. There's a copy available for people should they come into the meeting and be interested at the entrance. And basically, this local law limits the amount of displays that you may have fronting on a public street to 50% of the surface area of the glass or any other substance that makes an obstruction which would prevent visibility into the stores from the streets or sidewalks. So specifically, no more than 50% of the surface area of the glass will be obstructed in any manner, whether by paint, cardboard, wood, paper, merchandise, or other material that blocks the view into or from the street or sidewalk. And I won't, I'll take any comment on that from the board later, but we'll keep the public hearing open. We have a very long agenda this evening. Keep it open until a reasonable amount of time, unless people that are coming here that maybe perhaps attending the town board meeting at the same time. And Julie, if you'll remind me later on in the meeting to go back if I forget. And I have moved up on the agenda. Bella, Tim, do you want to introduce?
This is Joe Monero. He's the project engineer, right? Or,
Yep.
Joe's got a bad throat, so come on, don't get too close, Joe, but just so we can hear you anyway. People on, yeah, the Zoom are gonna be, okay.
So thank you for moving me up.
Joe, you want to sit down so you
Yeah,
can
have a
be
seat,
closer
Joe.
to the mic? That'll probably help the people on Zoom to be able to hear you as well. That's good.
Good evening, everybody. Thank you for moving me up. Wanted to help Tim with a presentation on where we are with the budget and also overview some additional work that we'd like to have the board entertain. And I worked with Danae's records, trying to make sure I understood some of the costs that have been acquired over time. It's been quite a bit of time walking through and trying to help rectify the town's or the village's records with our records as far as where the project costs are. So I put together a notebook so that all of the information is in one spot. What I did is I highlighted the sections of the project summary that are in yellow, which are documents that we're administering for the village. So, and I have all the supporting documents attached to show where all of those numbers come from. So it's, you got the complete record here. So you have a very high level of confidence that these numbers are the right numbers. I think one of the semantics that Danae and I were struggling with is where I use the word spent. Not everything that's been spent has been billed yet to the village, because the construction contracts require retainage. So that the retainage hasn't been applied for payment yet. So that's where the numbers don't completely match with her numbers. But from my perspective, the village needs to understand the full liability. So you know how much money you already committed and how much is actually left.
They're all on this first page.
Yes, so what I did is, and I'm just gonna walk briefly through this, so that way you guys can follow it at your leisure. So you can understand how I set it up. So each item is listed. The 4 line contracts, the 1, 2, 3, and 4 are for the general contractor, electrical contractor, mechanical contractor, plumbing contractor, and then the SCADA contractor, which was processed through PO. Those are the hard costs for the project. Those have either executed contracts and change orders or authorized POs. And the total amount executed is $20,634,926. We know that we spent $20,531,663.66. There is one contract that has $103,000 and change left in it, which is the general contractor of unused contingency, and there's $113 left in the SCADA PO. Under the next 10 items, these are the soft costs in the project. So we know for sure what our proposed was, authorized fee, what's been spent, and what's left. And then the rest of the items that are listed here, I was able to kind of come off of Danae's sheet and I bundled them up. So that way I got them to all match up. So I know what the village has spent from some of these other costs, so our records were in alignment there. So when you total this all up, we've spent $24,300,000. We have a budget of $24,366,788.48. And we have at the bottom a referendum of $24,750,000. Go to the next page, kind of highlighted. So there's a note column on the left, I'm sorry, all the way on the right. These are my footnotes. So each item has some explanations that go along with it to help explain things. And in several items, there are either hard costs or soft costs that are not spent. And those are surplus funds. So at the bottom of that page, based upon what we know out of the $24,366,788.48, it's about $383,212 below the referendum value. Go to the third page. I also note that there are fund balances and hard costs of $103,000 and a fund balance in the soft costs of $48,000. So the anticipated cost spent to date, and potentially what we're saying is the work completed to date, consistent with all the contracts, is $24,215,453.41. So that leaves an available fund balance up to the referendum amount of $534,546.59. So and then there's the additional work. So the additional work we're talking about, there's 3 items under the electrical contractor for probes, the manifold blower system, and some light fixture installations. These I got highlighted in green because we sent them the change order and they said those proposals are over 4 months old. So they want to look at those and potentially adjust those because the prevailing wages at that time have gone up. So we haven't got any revised numbers back from them on any of those, but they may go up some. The SCADA numbers are all pretty current. And it's for probes, security camera for the entire plant, some SCADA integration, and the manifold blower SCADA work. And then the general contractor has some probes and the manifold work, and then our additional support if these new items of work are to continue. So technically, the 4 contracts, 2 of them are closed already. The only 2 that are open are the general contractor, the electrical contractor, and they were essentially complete as of December 31st. So the way we have this structured is with the change orders. So the first one is the general contractor. What I've attached is the last change order that was executed, number 4. And that gives you the contract dollar amount that matches up with the money spent on the cover page. And then the next section of it gets into the additional items of work. And there's a change order number 5 for the general contractor. This essentially is a deduct change order, so it gives the village money back to the $103,000. That's the surplus funds. So that kind of zeroes out the basic contract that everyone entered into. And then after that is a change order number 6. That would be for the new work, and then that would have an increase in cost, and then an extension out to October of this year. And that may actually have to push out to November because the electrician is saying there's some items of equipment might take longer to get. So there's some supply chain issues that we're still trying to, get to the bottom of. And then when you go to tab 2, it's basically the same thing, electrical contractor. It's the first change order that's in, this is the last executed change order. So when you look at the contract price incorporated in all the change orders, that's the dollar amount that matches up in our total on the cover page of the project budget. And then the next section is the new work that is being asked for. So we have change order 4, which essentially zeroes out the contract and the electrical contractor. And then there's another contract change order which will be for the new work. And that would be contract change order number 5. And again, that would increase the contract and then also extend it. And then everything else is predominantly support up for the members used. So tab 3, it just has the last change order for Family Dan, so you can match up the total contract amount with the project record. Number 4 was the plumbing contract, which change order number 7, which was the last executed change order. I actually have 6 and 7 in here. And that's where the last numbers came that matches up with the end of the project budget. And then attachment number 5, these are all of the PO items for ICS to do additional SCADA work that we've been talking to Tim about. And we go to attachment 6. This is just to help clarify. So one of the big discrepancies that for some reason, and we haven't figured it out exactly what yet, but the maze records have changed having $3,396,685 applied to this project. And that's not, I think there's other projects that got commingled in here. But we were only authorized to go to $3,014,000. And what I did is I provided her with, that's what all of this stuff is this is what EFC approved. So it's that we can't exceed that amount. It has all of the, where we thought there was some records that need to be clarified with the $20,000 item. And then I've also included all of the billing, the project summary billing, as well as our ledger. So we only billed what we said on this job. So we had the contract amount was $3 million and change. We billed $2,974,000. There's like 38 left. And out of 38, I think 24 of it is for a minority business partner that's gone. So that's some part of the surplus funds that are available for the village.
Hey, Joe, just give you a break for a second. Regarding the SCADA work, didn't the SCADA people do the cameras at Shepherd Park?
Yes.
Could that have been a part of confusion on Danae's part? I don't
There's-
remember what the cost of that.
There's a
general
couple
was.
different projects that Labella's working on. There's an I study and the other one's TS.
Okay,
Digitization program. I think there's probably one of those.
okay, so not the,
No, it wouldn't be
because
that.
that would be a little too far.
No, I don't think so.
I think there's a few of them, because that's where, that's where one of the discrepancies with what Danae originally reported to the board versus what I'm bringing to you tonight. That's $382,000. So you got that much more money than you thought. So which is the good news, because when we're talking about trying to get these projects done, go back to the beginning on page 3. What we're saying is we could do all of these change orders in a total, about $275,000. I mean, some slight increases from the electrician. And that is, easily covered under the $534,000 that's left in the current fund balance. You actually would have, once that's authorized, about $260,000 left. So that if there was additional things that, Tim needed to take care of, you still have, like, for example, building some spare parts inventory, which is something we've been talking about, getting a couple service contracts lined up. So these are some things that we would recommend that, the village move forward with. There's funds left to start to get some of that stuff done. So like, what we would be asking for the board to consider is, I want you to have all the information and some comfort level that you actually have the money to cover it. But approval of the change orders that we haven't got them signed by the contractors yet. Hopefully they will be willing to entertain additional work. We haven't got that confirmed yet. We know that there might be a little increase in the numbers for the electrical contract. We're hoping that this information, the village should feel comfortable with authorizing the advancement of these additional work.
Just the change orders that you're talking about, Joe, or they're all the ones that are listed on page 3.
Yes.
So
Yep.
in other words, it encompasses every one of those.
Yep, they're separate change orders. So for the electrical contractor,
Right.
there's 2 change orders.
Yep.
One that zeroes out the current contract, and then the second one adds this additional work, and extends the time frame out to the end of 2023. The SCADA is all by PO, so that would just be giving Tim the authorization to execute POs. And then the GC contract, there's 2 change orders. One to zero out the current contract, giving the refund of the $103,000, so we can use it for new work. And then we have the second change order, which would be the new work that would be potentially done over the course of 2023, by the end of the year. And then Labella's work to administer the new work in 2023. And then if there's other items of work that Tim wants to get done, there's still funds available for Tim to do that by PO.
I know we were going to ask, Blue Heron to contribute towards the manifold system. Has that been?
Yes.
Is that included in it?
Yes, so what we did was, let me see where, so if you go to the first tab is the Blue Heron contract. So that, I'll walk you through this flow. The first change order number 4. And if you look at change order number 4, this was the last executed agreement. All the signatures are already on it on the bottom. Then the next page is a summary page. This is attached summary dated February 9th. And it talks about change order 5 and change order 6. Change order 5 is a contract deduct change order in the amount of $103,149.34. In other words, we're reducing the value of the contract by that much, because that kind of zeroes out the work already approved by contract. And then change order 6 would increase the amount of work that Blue Heron would do. So when you look at the change order 5, and then you've got, there's 2 pages. Change order 6, you got 2 pages. And then behind change order 6, there's a letter that is attached to it that kind of dated February 9th, and it explains the breakdown. And this is where we kind of use the argument of the 60% recapture and the 79% recapture. and, as some basis of. So we said you have to contribute, originally they were only willing to contribute 18,000 each from Kestner and Navaqua. And by using this proportioning, we got an increase in the amount that they contribute. And then they also provided calculations that support how they think this will be of added value to their village. So their total was 90,254. And after doing all of the cost sharing, the actual contract for the GC is only going to be $42,078.
So they're contributing 50.
About 40, 50, something like that. We haven't agreed to that yet, but we haven't got that signed yet, but that's what we're shooting for. We're hoping.
So that won't change any of the figures on page 3.
No,
Because when we did the bond resolution 24,750,
yes,
we made a mistake. We didn't actually have 750,000.
okay,
We only had about 500,000. So if we go over 24.5, I don't know where the money is gonna come from. The bond resolution, obviously, you can go ahead and bond more than the 20, then you bond 20.2. You could do that. But when we went from the 24 to the 2750, it was because we had money in the sewer plant reserve. And because of a mistake that was made, we found out there was only about 500,000 in there instead of 750. So
these numbers that I'm presenting right now have you going over by $10,000. It's the reserve that I'm showing is 259,148.17.
left in the contract.
That's the difference to get to the.
Yeah.
24,750,000. So if you had to take 250,000 out of that, there's actually.
Right. Yeah, you'd be over which would be no problem, but
Like
I just remember, the village doesn't have 24,750 on hand. We got 24 million we're gonna borrow. We thought we had 750 in a reserve, we were gonna use it all. There was only 500.
Yeah. So we're a
There
little.
may be a little bit more after this next budget, obviously.
So there's only like 10,000 difference plus whatever that little bit more might come from the general, the electrical contractor when we get their numbers
So
back.
Tim, as far as page 3, these additional change orders that you're working on, you're in agreement with all those.
Yes.
And will some of these change orders that you're talking about solve some of the problems that you say you've been having up there?
The manifold system obviously will.
Yeah.
The other ones, for process control, the pH probes, moving those around, that's obviously going to help with some of the process.
Gives you more data. It's gonna give them more data to operate with.
Yeah, the camera, security system, We all know what happened when, at the Legacy Motel, when the guy pulled a gun or whatever that incident was, he ended up in the wastewater treatment plant, with, searchlights and everything else going. So, security is important up there.
We would support that. And we're continuing to work with Tim on some of the other operational things, and as we find strategies to tackle those, we'll definitely we'll come up with.
So if these change orders are approved and you're able to work everything out, you get signatures, will the project then be ready to be closed out?
So we understand it, and that's why we're gonna close the contracts out. Even you can keep the contracts open and still focus on your closing, because now we have the final numbers,
Right.
and we can say the final numbers are gonna be, 24 million, whatever, and you can keep the contracts open and still be closing that work out while you're scheduling the closings in the EFC. And I know they said that you have until November,
Yeah.
but I would start process sooner because there's a lot of paperwork that needs to be done. And I'm feeling pretty confident about what our numbers look like. And I think I did, I brought extra copies, just so everybody has it handy as well. There's a,
I talked to, Larry Palkowicz today, our bond counsel, and he's getting antsy. He asked me where we were, and I said, just coincidentally, we got a meeting tonight.
so we have to, for the village and our office have to certify that, the DEC and the EFC approves a project, and we're gonna certify that the project was completed in accordance with their approved plans, which they were. And then we're also gonna certify that the money spent matches the work that was completed. So our accounting has to match Renee's accounting. And I think this gets us, this I hope will be the roadmap. Because the big items are the the hard costs. And I think we got a good record here of what those hard costs are. And then the soft costs, our fee was the bigger piece of it because we administered the whole thing, and that's a pretty solid number too. So all these other little soft costs, we do need to pin them down. But I think if this printout that Danae gave me is accurate, we're in good shape. And then we can just, if Danae still needs to figure out why her big items didn't match these, I'm hoping that with all of this stuff, she'll be able to get there. And then we can certify, she can certify, and we get the ball going on the closing. And I'm not going anywhere as long as I'm healthy. I'll be good.
So, what action would you like the board to think about tonight? Approving these change orders that are on page 3?
Yeah, I think the approval to issue purchase orders for the other items as well.
The SCADA items.
Because it's gonna take some time for those items to come, right?
Some, yes.
Yeah.
some no.
And as far as the water pump, the one that we met with, that's all been, that's over with. All the paperwork's been done.
Yeah.
We got the paperwork the other day, and all the accounting's been done for that, and that's over.
Did we get the pump back?
But I think you still got the old pump, that's to be disposed of. If somebody wants
So
it.
that was up to.
Who actually owns the pump?
No, but whoever wants to buy it. I think there was something in there where if Emmer could sell it, then there were some monies that would go
We did
back.
have somebody.
It was in the contract that when it was sold, there might be some return and some money, but there wasn't much hope there, optimism.
Yeah, I'm not expecting to see anything come out of that. My primary objective was that we could get it off the property, and
Just the other one there.
yeah, the other ones in and running. We're still working through, SOPs, and we're trying to figure out a couple of things with, working with Tim, see if we can get, if I would come up with some ideas. There's a couple other people that we are asking for some ideas on the settleability stuff, and we're still trying to tackle that. So,
Is Devaqua cooperating pretty well with?
so far, we've been really trying to foster a cooperative and collaborative environment, and started getting a little dicey, but I think we're reeling it back in. And I'm optimistic we get everybody to work together to get it done. I was hoping I was going to have their signatures on these things for tonight. I didn't get them. We have to follow up with it now and report that.
So these board approves those change orders that are on page 3. It would be a contingent upon all of the parties signing them as well.
Exactly.
In other words, we're not going to get stuck the village isn't going to get stuck for more. You're not going to get stuck for more if a black law all of a sudden says, no, we're not going to.
Exactly, and if the So like the easy parts are gonna be the change orders to close out the contracts. There's no reason they won't sign those. But we're waiting to find out is if they're gonna sign the change orders for new work. So if both the general contractor and the electrical contractor both don't sign, they're gonna revisit it because the concern that we have is you want the electrical contractor to do the electrical work. You don't want to have another vendor come in and do the electrical work, because if they touch, their electrical contractor's work, the warranty becomes suspect, and that you can get a new electrician that will assume the warranty of the other electrician, and you could do it, but that's gonna cost, no new electrical contractor. Do that without something. So we're hoping that we can get everybody to, be agreeable, but I think that if the village is supportive of trying to move forward with these, we can report that back and hopefully get them to the table.
And so Tim, are you going on record as recommending that we sign these, we approve these 4 change orders as suggested tonight? So, I guess we can call them 4, right? It's 4 separate ones.
It's gonna be 4, it's gonna be 4 separate.
Change
ones,
orders within it, yeah.
And one, an authorization allowed, to purchase orders.
Okay, so the motion would be then to authorize the mayor to sign these 4 change orders as outlined, and we'll put them down in the same order they're on this page, just copy the page.
And if you could just recognize that the electrical contractor may change the numbers for one of those contracts a little bit. So the one that's in here, the number might be. Yeah, but it's easy.
The first one, EC there.
Yeah.
Okay. Feel comfortable with that?
It's a good resolution.
I'll,
Yeah,
you want to make the resolution?
Yeah, I'll put that in form of a motion, please.
Ray's been to most of the meetings, so he knows more about them. Okay, so there's a motion by trustee Perry to approve the 4 change orders as outlined this evening by LaBelle. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Seconded by trustee Joe. Is there any other questions from anyone?
I just like to congratulate the team here. I wasn't involved in it as deep as this football, when it hits the table with all those numbers, it's a head spinner,
We all have that big binder too, so there's
Yeah.
a lot to carry into those meetings.
Yeah, so congratulations to all those involved.
What's that noise that I can't?
John's something.
Oh, okay. All right.
It's the backbone for.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, nay. Motion's carried. Thank you very much.
Thank you for getting me in early. It's all right. Just some time.
There's your wife calling me
Yeah.
up. Wants to know where you are.
Oh, congratulations.
I was actually. Okay. My first day was New Year's Eve. And I was gonna wait till New Year's Eve, but then I didn't have a Christmas gift, so I gave it to my Christmas Eve.
Wow.
Happy Valentine's Day.
There you go.
Thanks, Joe.
Okay.
Have a good night, everybody.
We have the monthly reports on file this evening from our various departments. And we have on item number 5, we have some correspondence here. The first one is from Brian Dunleavy up on Schuyler Heights, who was explaining the history of Schuyler Heights and would like to have a sign. If you came up this evening through there, you'll see that the sign is up designating Schuyler Heights. I remember when I lived up there, people would ask me where I lived. I would always say Schuyler Heights. I would never say Hammond Street or Nelson Street. Nobody knew where that was. And because of the history of the area, people are very proud of living up there. We purchased a sign and it's right underneath the government sign with an arrow pointing up the hill, Schuyler Heights. There is a letter here from Dan Baruch, who is talking about the study for
Workforce housing.
workforce housing. and talking about scheduling a kickoff meeting, which he has been doing almost weekly. And if anybody's got any questions about that project, he's continuing to work on it. Probably the most important thing is that we pretty much let him know at the beginning that we were not interested right now in entering into any sort of a contract to purchase the Sky Harbor hotel or motel property, and the town isn't in any position to do that as well. I think he's hoping for some grant funding, and if they're successful, maybe then they'll proceed with that specific piece of property. But right now, they're trying to identify several other places. And the last one here is a housing market study. This is when he approached us, if you recall here, a few meetings back, about contributing to the town for $15,000 towards the 30. I just got an email from him today. It looks to me like he's looking now for 20 rather than 15. And I told him that we'll be starting our work on our budget probably as early as next week if everything goes well, and then we'll be able to give him a better answer once we get into our budget figures. And we have several resolutions tonight. What I'll do is have Julie read them, and if you want them to be pulled out separately, just say so at the end of which one, and then I'll make a note of those, and then we'll go back and talk about them separately.
The first one is the LoSAP authorization to post and sign the 2022 firefighters record listing. The second is LoSAP benefit increase for the election ballot, going from $1,000 to $1,200. The main thing is there's a slight change in the effective date after talking to Penflex, is it?
Penflex.
Yeah, Penflex, they said that we couldn't start in June. It has to start January 1st. There's a budget transfer for reimbursements from the town for the beautification. There's Hunt's Quality Pest Control 2023 agreement letter, which is for the spraying around the bottom.
The main office here.
Yeah, for insects. There's support of joint occupancy tax committee for $26,500. There's Center for Economic Growth annual membership. There's an Adirondack Association of Towns and Villages 2023 dues. The NICOM annual membership dues. There's Lake George Park Commission invasive species, which is $37,000. There's looking for approval for the New York PP stickers to be ordered. New York State DEC compliance for tree removal at the water plant. Going back to the American PP stickers, that's actually for the cost of what we're going to sell it. I believe it's, I don't know if it's $10 or it's on the resolution that I included in
It's at
there.
the cost for this year as compared to last year.
Right, it's actually the same as what we did last year. You think it's the same. And the New York, we already did the compliance with tree removal. Then there's change of local law 7, 2022 numbering to local law 2, 2023. In filing, there was an error made, and by the time she could correct it, it was then 2023, and E-code makes you change it to the current year that you're in there. So we would just need to change the numbering that's on the top of the local law. The Lee Pump Sanitation Shepherd Park Pump 2 repair. We're just looking to let you know there was an emergency repair that had to be done, it had to be sent away. It's coming out of this, it would be transferred from the 8130 account to the 8120 account. And the last is approval for the wastewater treatment capital payment, EFC.
Okay, are there any of those that you would like to go back and discuss or question before?
I just have a question about what's the tree removal of the water treatment plant?
No, it's the water tanks.
Mark,
It's in the water
Yeah,
department,
water.
both
Yes.
the Northway tank and the Middleton tank. That was completed, the late part of last week.
Yeah, I saw the trucks up there.
You had that money in your budget. That, you got some quotes and the money was.
Yes, correct.
Budget. Yes, okay. Okay, this one, if I had,
I have a couple would be the
let's go ahead, Dan.
the Center for Economic Growth annual membership and the Adirondack Association of Towns, which is dues. I mean, just.
The Center for Economic Growth membership, we've been in for probably 4 or 5 years. That's a group made up of all the communities, some of the communities in the North Country. Not everybody's a membership. I found that what you can tell, what's the amount, Julie?
500.
500. Yeah, it's what it's always been. I just want to make sure. When we apply for a grant, one of the principals in that group is Andrew Meter, who's you may know is a local guy. And what we do is we get support from that group down in Albany, and they carry a lot of weight in Albany. They were all appointed by the governor. So when we, for instance, did the work at the treatment plant, I went to them and visited with them with Betty Little and told them how much it would mean to us to have a new plant, how important the economy of Lake George was, and they were a big supporter. They not only gave me a letter, but they actually testified at the joint hearing. So I'd call it a super lobbying group appointed by the governor, where I've always felt that the $500 investment was well worth it, because I don't have all the names of everybody that's on it, but there's some very prominent people.
Alphonse D'Amato.
Uh,
D'Amato, wasn't he one?
He was one, but the governor listens to what they say because he's counting on them to recommend big projects, and they were very instrumental in getting the chip factory in Malta here. That's when the governor formed them. So the $500, I think, is a worthwhile investment. I would recommend that the board continue to be a member of that, because we've got some other projects coming up that we're going to need some money from Albany for, and we're going to need their support. Better to have it than not have it at all for 500.
Small amount of money for.
Yeah. What was the other one, John?
The association.
Yeah,
Association.
that one. It's only $100, but
They're a lobbying group.
yeah,
They
for
do,
North Country. I don't tend to agree with some of their policies, but
well, they kind of try to neutralize some of the APA regulations, you know, that they're imposed upon the citizens and municipalities, you know, that kind of, I think it's a worthwhile organization.
Sorry.
Association.
Oh, the other association towns and villages, meetings that we go to. Oh, yeah, for years. They have their meetings here in Lake George at the Marriott Courtyard. Kevin Garrity, Warrensburg, is the chairman right now. They're a big lobbying group for all the towns in the Adirondack Park.
they like to bang heads off.
I don't know if anybody, they like to go down there.
The APA more than Albany, but yeah, they go to Albany.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, they go to all, whenever we had the meetings there, they'd get somebody from Albany to come up and speak. They had the senator at the one here a few weeks ago, I forget who it was, but it's a worthwhile group too, I think. It's all those dues add up.
If you want to break it out and vote
Pull
on
those two out,
separately,
vote them separately.
Well, that's probably the least expensive.
it is.
It is,
I
yeah,
think
it's
better than I would-
$150.
Really agree with some of their direction they're going, like for instance.
Well, we go and we go and, you know, if I was sitting there and the village wasn't a member, I don't know that I'd come to the Marriott anymore for the meetings. I'd go to Saranac or Lake Placid where they used to go. Yeah. Okay, well, I'll take a motion on the resolutions if you'd like.
So you're good leaving them all in there?
Yeah, it's not that hard.
I'll make that motion.
Motion by trustee Joe, second. Seconded by trustee Earl. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. Motion carried. We have some training requests here, water infrastructure grants and financing workshop for Adirondack communities. There's been a great infusion of funds from the state for water and sewer infrastructure projects. And I think that's extremely important that we attend that workshop. I think it's going to be by Zoom. And Mr. Miller is going to run it from the support the Adirondacks. And they were very instrumental in helping us get money for the wastewater treatment plant. So, and the second one is NICOM. This is a webinar for the poll, and Julie certainly should attend that for the upcoming elections. I'll make a motion that we approve those training requests.
A second.
Seconded by trustee Perry. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. We have two facilities use permits for Wood Park. The first being the Strand Theater Summer Slam put on by the Hudson River Music Hall. That's Jonathan Newell, if you recognize that name from Hudson Falls. The second is for the Adirondack Nationals. That's the car show, September 7th and 10th. And I'll take a motion on those two for Wood Park.
I'll make that motion.
A motion by trustee Joe, for a second.
I'll second that.
Seconded by trustee Root. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. The next is Shepherd Park, three facilities use applications. One is for a model car festival, May 31st and June 1st. Second is a country living festival. That's the one that moved for us from Wood Park. And the third is the Lake George Community Band Festival, which is held on July 15th on a Saturday in Shepherd Park. What's your pleasure on those?
What's the model car?
It's small.
It's a model car, it's
Just like
actually.
you and I used to build when we were kids.
It's
With
small little
glue,
cars.
airplane
Airplane
glue.
glue and paint and stickers.
Yeah, they build these little cars, and the reason why they're having it, you'll notice this, it is during Americade. And Mr. Dutcher says that it's extremely popular with the Americaders, because they not only do model cars, but they do little model motorcycles.
Yeah.
So he's gonna be in Shepherd Park while they're down at Wood Park. And he's completely sold out with vendors, so.
It's an unknown phenomenon.
There's-
We've uncovered that there's a lot of people that do that, train fanatics and model car. I don't want to say fanatics, that's probably not a good way to
I
describe
found out
people, but-
when I was executive director of the convention bureau, I found out that there's a group and a conference for every single thing in the world. Because I was in the process of booking a bonsai tree convention. There's conventions for every single collector's item in the world. It's amazing. And now we know there's a group for these tiny little model cars. I'll take a motion on that if you'd like, or did I already have one? I didn't.
I don't think you have, but I'll make it.
The motion by trustee Perry, second. Seconded by trustee Earl. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion's carried. The rec center, the Titans Fast Pitch. This is a group that's coming back now for the third year. I did get a hold of him the day after the meeting at the holiday because I heard some of the disparaging remarks that the town said about how he told me that he's been in close contact with Kathy. They don't have any problem with each other at all. I wrote Kathy, I didn't email her, I didn't hear from her. They had one tournament they want to do on the very last weekend that the youth commission would have been there. And Kathy told them, go ahead and do it. So I'm waiting to get confirmation of that in writing from her. But he definitely has been in contact with her right straight through. I also put him in contact with Ron at the up there because they wanted to make some improvements. And they gave, I guess, Keith and Ron, he's got a list of some of the materials that they would like to buy.
Yeah,
And you guys will be going over it. And whatever you decide to buy, they will do the work.
yeah, and it sounded like, some of that got, boiled down a little bit. What, you know, you had a kind of a longer wish list, and we'll have to, reevaluate that new list.
Yeah.
To see where we're at with it.
Well, the main thing they know is they can't do anything unless it's overseen by the village.
Right.
So, and he's agreeable with all that. He's I mean, I've never had any problem. He's a New York State Conservation Officer, and I think he's a pretty decent
It's
guy.
much better than the other guy.
Yeah, way better than the other guy.
Yeah.
The other guy got associated.
Right, no, they're
Yeah, they
not.
threw the
Those
other
are the
guy
ones- Those are the ones that spray
They
paint the
threw him
logo
out,
on.
yeah.
thing.
The bad guys,
Put the sign up without asking.
he's not a Zoom. You know, but he is very easy to work with.
And I spoke with one of the parents, just to bring everybody up to speed, one of the parents, my kids are thrown out of the program now, so I still get the phone calls, but, I spoke with one of the coaches, her and her husband both coach the kids, and, they wanna work with this guy. This guy is, she's mentioned, his name's Matt O'Connor. They've said that he is actually really good to work with, and they wanna have like some sort of a meeting with him. I think we should facilitate, just to make sure that maybe a representative from the town, the village, and then, the parents, and then this Matt O'Connor, of course, Kathy. And they should get together at some point, just to make sure that everybody understands. And like, he has volunteers that will line the fields, you know, for a tournament, and they don't see that they have any lime, they take some of ours, and they don't know any different. But it ruffles feathers, and it
Yeah,
aggravates
that's
people. They'll take a mound, that's why we can't have them at the same time as youth commission, because they'll take a mound out. They'll dig a mound out, or take a portable mound, and then the kids go to play baseball, and when you need a mound, you don't pitch off of a mound for softball, but you need it for baseball, so we just can't have them commingling. And if it's fine with Kathy that last weekend, then I'm sure it's fine with everybody
We
else.
should have a
The
meeting.
part of the problem is you'll get an rambunctious coach who has a good friend who's coaching with him. And he calls him up and says, let's go have a practice with the kids. Let's get as many kids as we can get together and have a practice. Unscheduled, they don't call Kathy. It becomes a problem. And then they want to yell and scream saying, why can't we use these fields? It's our kids. You know, if they happen to run in.
Why can't we get into the gates?
Right.
Why can't we?
Yeah, it's.
Well,
it's-
you're talking about the
teams that
youth
go-
commission.
Yeah, the youth commission.
Because I went over to 3 years ago, I went to the elementary school. And I had a meeting with all of them, and you could see there was, at the time, remember, the coaches were breaking the locks,
No, yeah.
going over the fence. And the director of the youth ministry there didn't know anything about it. And so over there, we had to have that.
They're not
meeting.
allowed, the youth commission's not allowed to go to the school fields anymore.
It's a good,
because of that reason.
it's a good idea to have that every once in a while. Because they weren't even together amongst themselves. you know.
Right.
See, it's when Lake George wants to go into tournaments. Softball and baseball tournaments that end at the end of the season, because there are tournaments and travel teams that go through the summer. But now Lake George is, represents a team or what have you. But those are the ones that we don't know they're gonna continue on to do it.
Right.
And that's when you get we try to get in practice, but what?
So,
So if there's any kind of tournament teams, we need to know. So we can make sure the fields are available.
Right, and we need to be able to have an open line of communication with this, Matt O'Connor, so.
I'll take a motion on their, application for use of the rec center.
I'll make that motion.
Motion by trustee Joe,
Second.
second by trustee Ruth. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. While we're on the rec center, I talked today, with a lady, Jacqueline Warshauser. She operates the Wild Type Learning Center. And she operates 4 centers, one of which is in Glens Falls, 2 in Saratoga, and I think 1 south of Saratoga. She would like to do a children's program up at the rec center on Mondays from 10 a.m. to 12 p.m., April 24th through June 19th. Now, this is even before school gets out. She'll have probably 10 to 12 children. They do yoga. They play lawn games if there's space. She wants to take them up the hiking trails. She wants to sit them and talk to them about nature, low impact type thing. 8 weeks, Mondays from 10 a.m. to 12 p.m. I don't see where it would bother anything. She's heavily insured. She said she's gonna come up and fill out an application next week. I told her I'd bring it up to the board. I don't see any reason why we couldn't let her use it. It's all children are ages 2 to 7. What are they gonna do? And I'm suggesting like $25 a session would be $200 for the, you have to charge her something. You can't let her go up there for nothing. And she thinks that, she said that the reason she wants to use, they've been using Greenfield Center ball fields in Saratoga Springs Park, the one in Wilton. And she's got so many registered now in Glens Falls. In this area, she wants to have the same program up here. So the kids come with their parents. So if you're agreeable, it'll have to be approved, but I just thought I didn't want her to have to drive up here. I didn't see any reason that there's nothing going on any of those days, 10 to 12. I'll get her application and we'll probably process it at the next meeting. Monday mornings from 10 to 12.
Well, the kids are 2 to 7, so.
I'm good to
not
be
someone to be
early up by
homeschooled,
then.
the rest would be before we get into
Coming to work. Huh? Yeah, you're up. We know you're up.
By the nature trail.
Okay.
So we want to conceptually approve that, or?
I'll need well, you can if you'd like. I mean, if I can approve it when it comes in, unless as long as she's got her proper insurance. She said she's gonna bring her insurance and certificate with her when she comes. If you'd like to, for $200,
Make a
or
motion.
$25 a session. Might get rained out.
I'll second it.
Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion's carried. The next item, number 9, is the applications that we have had, our deadlines over for the village. Each one of these, I have listed, I think probably, hopefully you got some idea of what they were prior to the meeting. But these are all projects that I put in the budget. I don't have that list with me tonight, so I don't know how
You had emailed it, didn't you?
Huh?
I think you emailed it, right?
I made it, but I don't know whether I emailed it or not. I wanted everybody to see all the applications, but I don't know whether I emailed the list.
It was a list of what was awarded.
Yeah.
It was a spreadsheet.
Yeah.
What they were asking for
What they got.
Yeah.
what they got at
What
the,
they were awarded.
Which is. No.
No, it's a list of what they were awarded, where, the joint committee? Oh, yeah, I mean, I knew that, but without that, we can't do anything tonight. Because I had
Yeah.
recommendations
I got it.
for each of these.
Hard to see, but.
Applications.
Well, that's what they,
That's one.
yeah, that's what they, have requested,
Okay.
but it wasn't what I had come
Wasn't
up,
what you had come
because
up
what
with.
I did was, no, that's an individual.
It was around 3,000 each, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was, except for mine, and, I can basically remember what they were,
No, just,
yeah.
just what was requested, that's what it shows. I don't
Yeah.
know what's-
Well, I can tell you what they are. Because they were all, the Empire State Towing and Recovery. That's the gentleman that, changed and moved to the second week. That was 2,000. The Lake George Arts Project was 2,000. The Country Living Festival was 3. The Christmas Festival was 3. No, pardon me, the Christmas Festival, he withdrew that application. That's 0.
Here we go.
The garlic,
That's out. I'm not right. What's going on?
Right.
Awarded?
yeah, that's the joint. That was the joint, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, you all know what they were awarded. I can tell you now from Ray's thing what they were awarded there. The Garlic Festival was 3. The Oriental Shriner Circus was 1,500. McDonald's Charity of Albany is 6. And the Law Enforcement Officers Weekend was 2,500. What I did was, I did the budget for our occupancy tax. And that's the figures, those are the figures that are in next year's budget for occupancy tax. So if you choose to award any of those, you'll know the money's already there. But instead of waiting till we did the budget, some of these people are already calling. So I decided to go ahead and put it on the agenda tonight. We used to look at the big sheet when we did the budget, and if you approve that, they were all in. I took out just the occupancy tax awards and gave you a list of these. The ones that got money, the tow truck show got 4,000 at the thing. I think I'm surprised that I didn't see that. There's one missing here. Is Frankie Cavone's. Yeah, Frankie Cavone's was in there for 2,000. Frankie got 4 at the Jazz got 4. All 3 festivals got 9 for the Shriner Circus didn't get anything. And I got 4 for Rockin' with Ronald.
About the fish, Queen George Derby.
Which one?
I'm looking at the one at the bottom there on my list that shows the ones that requested King George Fishing Derby.
You want 23 or 24?
No,
They
that's,
have on the top.
yeah, that's an all one.
22 or 23. I
Yeah,
guess.
we didn't put any, yeah, we didn't put any in for any, the fishing derby, nothing. No. So if you have any questions about any of those, I'll be glad to answer them, but again, they all made personal appearances at the joint committee, and all of them, I feel, are worth the value. And if you have any questions about the one, I'm going to abstain because obviously I've got one in there for Ronald McDonald Charities. For the 6,000 would pay all the bands for the Ronald McDonald Charity. If we raise enough money to pay all the expenses, obviously, the good thing about that is all that money stays right here. It's all given to the families. He spoke at church Sunday morning, the director, and I didn't know this, but the families are given $500 to spend while they're here. And there'll be 34 families this year. So that's $17,000 we're going to attempt to raise so the families can continue to get that $500 spending money. So their entire visit here will be free. But the rest of them, the Oriental Shriner Circus, of course, is just a 1-day event's been coming here for several years. And all of these monies will pay for the use of Wood Park, which of course, you know, we turn around and get it right back. So. Any questions on any of those?
The only thing that when I went over this list, one thing I was considering is that everyone that's on this, I've either approved before, it's a repeat, event. Just the three new ones, it's hard for me to make a judgment on that when I really wasn't there to hear their presentation, so.
Yeah.
I would just.
Well, the only thing I can tell you-
Those three.
Yeah. The only thing I can tell you about the three festivals is that the last time I checked with him, which was just last week, he has over 60 vendors for the Garlic Festival already. That's at Wood Park. The one that he moved, Shepherd Park, he already has 45 vendors. And the other one at Shepherd Park, or Wood Park, I don't remember what he said, but I asked him if he thought they were all going to be successful. He said, absolutely. And he said he knows that mostly all of them are obviously staying overnight because that some of them are 3 days. So he gave a good presentation at the, and they gave him 9, they gave him 3 each, but he's not applying for all of them here. He's only applying for 2 out of the 4. He's the one doing the car show.
Model car.
Same guy, yeah.
Model car, yeah.
But he's not applying for one.
John, can I ask you a question? Which 3? Just so for my record.
The 3 that I wasn't, it's either they're not new or I wasn't at the presentation. It's the Country Living Festival, the Christmas Festival, and the Lake Shore Garlic Festival.
Okay.
Yeah, Christmas Festival
Christmas
across.
So I would just abstain from those 3.
Yeah, Christmas
Those
Festival,
two.
no, he did not submit for that. That's a mistake. That's probably where Frankie Gavone should have been.
Well, Frank's a repeat. He's a repeat performer. So.
Yeah.
The skate park.
Yeah, he did a great presentation at the meeting Frankie did. Yeah. Okay, it's good. Okay, I'll take a motion on all of those except well, you can okay, we'll take a motion on those 3 first. Those 2, Country Living and Lake George Garlic Festival. I'll make a motion, we approve those 2. Is there a second?
A second.
Seconded by Trustee Perry. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. Abstain. Okay. And I'll take a motion on all the rest.
So
Motion by Trustee Root,
second.
seconded by Trustee Perry. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
And I abstain. Okay, the school tax agreement. We were able to get the school to give us a exemption. If you recall, they billed us. We missed grievance day, and we paid $121,000 in taxes to the school last year because of the new assessment at our wastewater treatment plant. So we put together a program, and we went to the school and we asked them if they would exempt us to the tune of going back to our original costs. In other words, whatever we paid for the old treatment plant, which was around, I think it was 12,000 or 13,000. If they would agree to go back to that amount, and here it is right here. $3,906,000 was what our plant was assessed at before, and we paid. It says the total. Well, you can't set the total because it was it's based on the assessment. But in any event, they went back to the original assessment, and we would agree to let them raise our assessment 5% a year for 20 years until it got up to the total assessment, and they agreed to it. We're also going to grievance day and grieve the total assessment in 19. So if she grieves that down, and we've already talked to her, obviously the 5% will make much less impact on the dollar amount each year, because it'll go down. I'm pretty sure she's gonna be agreeable and she's gonna reduce it, as we've been talking to her. So this is allowing the mayor to sign this agreement with the school to allow them to enter into a pilot agreement with us concerning the assessment at the wastewater treatment plant, which right now is $19,876,000.
So if she agrees that down, we'll be locked in at that.
At the new,
For 20 years.
it'll be locked in forever for 20 years. 20, yeah, they know we're grieving it too. We told them, we said, we're also grieving the assessment. So there's a section in here that says, should the assessment be changed, so will the, and it's part of the example here. Either negotiate the town of Lake George assessor a new assessment in such event, and further, the current assessed value is ever changed. The agreement will be adjusted based on the same form. So that'll be a substantial savings to the village. There's no way, unfortunately, we can get our $100,000 back because we didn't even realize how much she had to assess for. And it's been paid.
It's because it costs $24 million to build, doesn't mean it's worth $24 million on
We-
the open market.
Well, we asked her where she got that figure. She said she had experience in dealing with 3 or 4 other treatment plants. She made calls to the assessor, like in Glens Falls and Saratoga, and found out how they assess it. But Matt doesn't agree with it. And then last time I talked to her, she said, tell Matt to come in. And she said, we'll negotiate a new figure. So looks like she's gonna be agreed. That's Lori Barber. And Mr. Durway, the business officer from the school, was very cooperative, and I sent her a letter thanking her as well. So
Does Lori actually do the assessments? I thought they had an assessor.
Lori did the assessment on our treatment plant. Yeah. She does them. She's been doing them all herself. She says every year she said she tries to upgrade the assessment. So we stay right up there with 90-95%. So she feels as though, she said, you know, she did the best she could on this, so. Take a motion on that, allowing the agreement to be signed with the high school.
So,
Lake George Central School District.
so we,
Motion by trustee Root, there's a second.
Second.
Seconded by trustee Joe. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion's carried. Tim? Septic rates, go ahead.
So Hector, you know, obviously we all know the shortcomings of the treatment plant for septic. I reached out to Ticonderoga and Glens Falls to see what they're currently charging for septic. Glens Falls charging $70 1,000 gallons, 7 cents a gallon, and Ticonderoga charging $75 a thousand. And we're currently charging 65. It's my recommendation that we increase the septic fee to $75 a thousand. You know, we've been doing a lot of brainstorming. You know, Matt Ford has some good concepts about the whole septic receiving scenario, but village taxpayers are paying, you know, yearly to have access to the wastewater treatment plant, and you know, outside users, you know, septic tanks are, you know, pumping their septic tanks every 5-10 years for $250. You know, so you know, for them to be able to come and dump at that, you know, that lower rate, just I don't think it's fair to the, you know, those
How much those tanks hold when you pump them?
1,000 gallons. Most
So
of
they
them
get-
1,000 gallons.
So they're making roughly, if it's $250 a cleanup for someone's house. You got what, 5 to, and they're making what, 4,000?
Yeah, I mean, I just want to try to make this that, I don't know, like a village resident might pay over the course of 5 years, they might pay close to $10,000 for access to that wastewater treatment plant.
Well, no, that's what,
Find somebody with a.
and I'm just trying to figure out what haulers are making off of the people
Yeah, I
they're
don't
getting
know.
it from,
I don't.
and
know.
what they're paying us.
I don't know what they're making, but
What
they're just gonna pass along.
Yeah, each septic tank in someone's house is probably about 1,000 gallons.
Yeah.
And they're paying 60, well, what are they paying now?
Oh, it's just gonna raise it.
$65 a house, so they do 250, they're making $200, change.
I'm just thinking how big their tank, they're coming in, what they're paying to dump it, and what they're making.
Well, they could just raise their rates on,
Well, they could, but we tried to do that years ago, and they will go somewhere else. Well, somewhere else that's,
they're not going anywhere else.
They paid the bump, I think, and
they fought that.
they fought it, well, they come in here and cried
Yeah, well, you know,
crocodile tears
Yeah.
and it was gonna put them out of business, but nobody went anyplace today. They all, it was either that or they had to haul up to Glens Falls.
Glens Falls plans on raising the rate again next year.
Yeah.
What are they at now?
$70.
Let's go to 80.
But I know I got a
yeah,
phone call.
no, seriously.
I'm serious.
No, that's why I wanna know, because they're gonna move it on to the people in their homeland.
I think you're better off raising up to what you think if Glens Falls is gonna raise up. You don't wanna raise this year, raise again next year, raise 2 years.
I would
you're-
do
Be
a lower
proactive
raise.
for, you know,
Board.
Yeah.
I
we
think
don't know what it's gonna cost. us.
it's just, not something you can live with for a few years.
Well, we can't because Glens Falls can only take so much. I mean,
Right.
like,
And
go
Yeah,
ahead.
we can't-
So can we can only take so much right now, till we get the manifold system.
Yeah,
Hey.
They're just gonna pass it on.
20 miles.
Once they start the septic or construction program,
You know, don't hurt anybody, but we need to increase.
once they start the septic inspection program the next spring, they gotta come to you. They have no choice. They're just gonna charge the people for the septic inspection, that's all. They're charging them now, so.
I don't think they're 105 or something.
No, I was gonna say, no, we went for the whole meeting of when the APA and everyone came in here. And I said, well, what are these flow rates and what are the percentages that you're giving to Queensberry and Glens Falls? And like, oh, that's a different procedure. I'm like, well, what do you mean? Well, you guys are dumping into the ground and, you know, that's why you need to build a new system. They're dumping into the river. I'm like, okay, so I just don't get it, you know.
Yeah.
We gotta pay for this brand new wastewater treatment plant
I think you should raise.
for
it.
cleaner, that's, I'm saying, do you think we should get more for it?
$4 million.
And even if we cap it for 2 years, we don't know what it's gonna cost us.
Well,
It's gonna cost us more than 75.
Losing.
By law, it's limited from.
Yeah, we gotta make improvements, to be able to.
No,
We
that's
are
it.
now,
I mean,
but
right
once
now,
you
we
put
can't
this new-
change what we're getting.
Then the
Correct, it's a
receiving
summer.
system in, you'll be fine.
But that's.
So, I mean, I don't think we can't charge enough,
Can't really charge much for it.
No.
We can't.
but let's figure something out of it.
That's
Well, we can't send it from
Because-
outside.
No, they can't take it anywhere else.
Right.
Has to come to us. I'd raise it so you don't have to raise it again in a couple of years, but it's up to the people who are gonna be here.
No,
You're gonna put
that's
up
the
with
whole,
the heat.
It's, yeah, I mean, it's not a lot of dollars. I mean,
no,
if you got a truck that holds 4,000 gallons, if we raise it up to 100, it's.
$20, you know, it's gonna charge you
The haulers,
$20.
She also gonna pass the savings on to the
price.
residents.
the price
Can't
of
go
their
anywhere.
equipment also goes up.
They can't go anywhere else.
Well,
He's
he's
got
got,
a
legally,
1,000 gallon
they can't charge it when it's fall.
They're not supposed to. They do, but.
They
they're
won't
not
be able
supposed
to.
We should enforce that.
Under the new system, they won't be able to because
'Cause
the park commission is, when they have their thing pumped
Right.
out, the park commission is gonna make a note of it.
Right.
And they're gonna
well,
call.
the customer's gonna get a,
It's gotta come. it's
Sign a
gotta
bill of
come to
lading.
us, Yeah.
they have to give it to the hauler, and be like a pink ticket or something, and then the hauler has to present that to
They gotta
to
come.
Tim.
Can't take it.
This is where it came from and this is why it's coming.
So you think Glens Falls is gonna go from what to what?
They're 80.
It's 75 now.
75 to 80?
Well, they're 70 right now.
Oh, I'd go to 80. I'll bet they'll go to 80 too.
Yeah, I'm sure they will.
But is 80 gonna be safe for us?
They're gonna cost us.
So like,
Cost wise,
can raise it again in a couple of
You
years.
can.
I mean,
Well,
you
yeah, in a
wanna
couple of
raise
years,
it
but
You know,
next
sticker
year,
shock,
but
them,
Yeah,
right?
that's why it stays a little bit ahead of the.
The Holland's gonna get cried no matter what you do.
I can see it going.
It can only take so
Maybe
much.
100 before long.
You know, they're scheduling loads just like we are. You know, so,
But our fees are going up at, to get rid of the solids, right?
We've already lost, we just built a new treatment plant with the highest technology. The people in the village are paying the whole bucks for it in the town. And you already lost a couple $100,000 up there. So like a guy that's selling hot dogs and he's not selling as many, he raises his price up to try to pay his lease. I'd go up so you don't have to raise it again in a year or two. I mean, that's,
I've got 85.
Okay.
I'm comfortable.
Settled.
Plus, we have a kind of a captive customer.
$100, easy man.
That's what I figured.
You have to notify the others too. I mean,
They're gonna go another 5 years before they got a pump again, so
Yeah.
$100 a
somebody
pump.
make a motion.
You wanna,
Go for it.
you like the $100?
I do.
I mean, well, I'll make a motion that we raise the rates up to,
I gotta deal with it even, doesn't matter how much it costs, I still have to deal with it. So
Right.
if I can deal with it, we might as well.
because they're gonna pass it off to their,
Yeah.
to people coming in, so
Yeah.
it's not. They'll still make their percentage what they gotta do, that we move it up
Why don't you give me
$100.
a co-stars on the thing? Give me a motion.
I make a motion that we raise our rates up to $100 again, 1,000. Is that what it is?
10 cents a gallon.
10 cents a gallon? And we'll keep that rate.
You don't have to do anything.
No, okay, so it's 10 cents a gallon.
Second.
There's a motion on the floor to raise the present raise. I would suggest that, you put in there the motion and notice period. You know,
Good idea.
you don't wanna tell them tomorrow,
Right.
like 30 days.
Yeah, we talked about March 1st, but.
What's that?
March first.
March 1st.
Good week.
Rates being effective as of March
It's,
1st.
it's off season right now, so I mean, it's not like they got locked down.
Okay, you'll put that in the motion.
But that, so rates to be
Okay.
adjusted on March 1st.
Any
I'll
further
second the
discussion?
amended motion.
Any further discussion?
So we're going from 70 to 100,
To a dollar.
from 70 to 100, in one jump.
65.
65.
65 to.
65 to 100.
Do you want to suggest something different, like we tier it? Get to that number in a
Well, I
couple
mean, there's
months?
nothing that says you can't raise it in 2 years, and
I mean, our cost.
that just seems like an awful.
It's a legitimate time to do it. Plan expenses.
Kind of, yeah.
Wait a minute on that.
What do you think about that, Tim?
I got a phone call maybe 5, 6 years ago from a septic caller out in Johnstown. So about one of our haulers out there on the front.
Comes over here.
Yeah, they were getting $100 a thousand at Johnstown. That was 5, 6 years ago.
Yeah, what are we doing
Where
here?
they dump it here.
You got a brand new $24 million plan.
Plus.
And a lot of this septic is coming in, it's whenever that new program, those tanks probably haven't been pumped out in a long time.
Yeah, not only that, but, you know, again, we're taking people's septic, but the village people are paying for it.
Yeah. But
And
we're
they
taking
shouldn't have to
solids, we're
pay
not
for
taking
somebody
diluted,
else's
yes,
septic. They're not paying a fair rate to our $24 million plan. All right, there's a motion on the floor, to raise the rate to $100. What is it per
1,000 gallons.
1,000 gallons,
10 cents a gallon.
effective March 1st? I'll take this as a roll call. Trustee Root?
Aye.
Trustee? Mayor votes aye.
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 Aye. Passes. All right, we're on to, there is a sample in your, booklet tonight for senior citizens tax exemption. We've had some people in the village call. This is just to put it out for a public hearing. Lori said if we're gonna do it, she needs us to do it, by March. And, the town already has it in place. It's for people, that make less than $32,500. it gives them a discount on their real property taxes. We did a little survey. It's not going to apply. There'd be very, very few people in the village who said that she believes will apply for the exemption. This is not the right one that's in your book. I don't know where this came from, but it's also, the one we are looking at has a $32,500 income limit, but also they have to be disabled. That's the one that Mrs. Viola has been asking us about for years.
Disabled and senior, or
Huh?
senior and disabled, or
Both,
both?
both.
Disabled and senior, or disabled or senior? That's what I'm,
The disabled,
Two separate
disabled,
or together?
yeah,
not senior.
okay. just
Disabled,
disabled.
property owner, at 32,500. Yeah, this is not the right one. I don't know where that came from. I have a copy of the right one.
Okay.
But, so in any event, we'll send it to everybody and take a look at it. And then if you all agree, we'll schedule a public hearing for it for the next meeting.
So that we had it
It
set for
won't-
next.
It won't take effect, it won't take effect June 1 anyway, because you're gonna be a little late, but we did the best we could. Matt got a copy of it from me, and we'll do the best we can. So we're on to the fire truck purchase. We discussed it somewhat at the joint meeting. We have the figures now pretty much in place. The truck would be about $1.6 million. We're gonna have at least $500,000 in reserve funds when the truck comes in 2 years. I found out today that we can bond the truck for 20 years instead of 15. We can go up to 20. That's gonna lower the bond payments quite a bit. I also relayed that information to the town because they're talking about it tonight. So it's gonna obviously decrease the bond payments considerably. 20 years, it's obviously also gonna increase the interest rate that you're gonna pay. We told the gentleman from the truck company to avoid the 5% increase. He has agreed to let the village sign an agreement contingent upon the bond resolution being approved, and should there be a permissive referendum, it passes. So for instance, if somebody does submit once we get the bond resolution from Larry Paltowitz, which he'll have sometime next month, and we pass it to actually go to the bonding, purchase the truck. If somebody submits an application within 30 days and is voted on, and for some reason it's voted down, the contract, which we'll have Matt look at, the purchase will be null and void, which it would have to be. So that way we're not locking ourselves into any, but he still promised us that we wouldn't be subject to the 5% increase that he claimed is going to start after March 1st. So first thing we'll do is take.
Town's still on board with it.
Town's gonna vote tonight. They're gonna vote tonight. I mean, in talking to Marissa and Dennis, I seem to think that the 50-50 proposition that we gave to them, that they had the votes to approve it. Pam Bruce was gonna call us, but it was obviously their meeting started after ours, and they had a public hearing. So I'll take a motion on the floor, so we can discuss it further if you'd like.
I'll make a motion that we approve the purchase of the new ladder truck for the fire department,
Subject to the,
subject to the approval of the town and other discussed.
okay, there's a motion by trustee Perry, seconded by trustee Earl. Is there any further discussion on it? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, nay.
Okay, we have professional engineering services by KSPE for culvert repair near the visitor center. This is our superintendent, Keith Lanfear. Go ahead, Keith.
Yeah, we have, a little bit of an issue there. It's in the partial parking lot there for the Shoreline Restaurant, adjacent to the visitor center. It's a large culvert. It's the outfall that actually brings the Prospect Stream down through the village, and which is associated with the repairs we did with Muhammad. So basically the culvert that's there is rotted away for the most part, and we're getting sinkholes in the parking lot and all that kind of stuff. So I've got a hold of Sean Doty to see what would be a good opportunity for him to come down to meet with me, and he did last week. And we did a little exploratory to see what actually needed to be fixed, what was still good, that kind of thing. Evaluate exactly what we should be doing as a repair or possible replacement. After going through that process of investigating the condition of all of it, it looks like we can do a repair, a good tangible repair, at a very much lower cost than what, would have been for a full replacement. There's actually 2 culverts associated with that area, which is the outfall into the lake. So, there's going to be DEC permits, obviously, because it is a streamline. So we're going to have to get permitting for that from DEC. And then Sean has also submitted, I think you guys have some information with their fees. It's kind of, we're looking at it as time and material, trying to keep the scale of the project a little bit low key, and keep the cost down as well. And Sean seems to be amenable to that as well. What I did ask him for late last week was just an estimate for what his engineering fees would be as a whole. That's the easiest way for us to decide, make a decision on. So he's got basically as a ballpark, just for helping with the permitting, some of the design for the repair. He's looking at between $3,500 and $5,000 as an estimate of what his time and material cost would be to the village. I don't find that to be unreasonable with the scope of work that we have to do. And again, I don't think that's a bad number in between there. And so that's where we're at. I'd like to try to get something approved where if the board is amenable to approving Sean or Swazzle Engineering to let us start in on this project as far as getting the permitting started, and then also maybe some more detailed design work that we need to do for the project. So
I think we'll be able to complete the work that needs to be done before like May or June.
well, it's going to kind of be based on what the flow is. We can do something in March if we have the permitting, or even early April. And the streamline, the volume of water is manageable. I think we can knock it down pretty good. I don't have any problem doing this project with our DPW personnel and maybe a few water guys, or maybe a little bit of help from the sewer plant with the vac truck and so on. So I think the bigger thing is to try to get started with the permitting. That's the first part.
I'll make the motion, you hire Swazo Engineering at a cost not to exceed $5,000 to assist us in repairing the culvert next to the shoreline property.
Yep.
Take it for a second. Second by trustee Earl. That culvert has been a problem for years. That's the one we covered. It comes down and back, it used to come down through Helen, all the way down through and came between my building, which we were in before, the Basket World shop. Comes between that building and the Riley's building.
Yes,
Right there, and the culvert goes right through. We used to get flooded out every spring in our basement there because there's a leak probably somewhere there too.
Oh, I'm sure.
And it goes under the road and then goes between Quirks and the
the building there on the corner next to Visitor Center.
Yes.
So it's,
Ground.
oh, it used to, yeah, it goes to, in the clerk's parking lot. We repaired that at least twice during my term.
Okay.
We did the parking lot over at Works and put a patch on it or whatever. I have no idea. But it's good to get the thing done.
It's a large
Get it done
culvert.
right.
We fortunately, we do have some of the materials in stock already, so that's kind of helping with some of the cost for not having the availability of, with the, supply chain. So I think we're okay with most of that. And again, doing that in-house, it should make a big difference.
Is the life expectancy of newer culverts longer than what they used to be galvanized and they'd run out, or are they something better now?
Well, it's actually a section of galvanized, about 8 foot in length. It's a 48-inch diameter, culvert. And, it was attached to, 48-inch concrete culvert, which is actually part of our investigation, is still in really good shape. It's just that connection where they put their steel culverting in that one section. And the line adjacent to it, is a 36-inch diameter, and that's still in good shape too. And so it's just it's like a spot repair for the most part.
Now, that's a continuation on from
Oh,
where we've got our building on. The culvert that used to back up, is that a continuation that runs down?
No, that's a different culvert. That's a different,
culvert?
that's a different stream. Yeah.
this is.
So,
That's,
all right.
I think that if you look on, the topographical map.
that's all we have.
This is
It's
a
like a
designation of intermittent stream.
That's the one that comes off Connery Street.
Oh,
Yeah, okay.
They go right to, that was a class 3,
Oh,
then it
maybe
just
it's-
runs during the season and then stops.
Well, it's a class 2 stream.
As it stays constant running.
okay. Three
Well,
different
yeah,
things.
pretty much. The
summer.
DEC, it would have to be 6 months without any water to not be a class A.
Yeah.
In the summertime, it's, you know what it is.
Yeah, yeah,
You're lucky if it's a trickle sometimes.
right. and then-
Until it rains.
Yeah.
Well, that's just it, and then hopefully, it's gonna be a little bit contingent on what we have for spring, rain
Yeah.
events and so all that kind of stuff, so. If we get the permitting done, that'll be a big part of it right there.
I'll take a motion on the, transfers, audits and wire payments.
So move.
Motion by trustee. Say that, Joe. Trustee Joe. Second. Seconded by trustee Earl. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Tim, and safety kits here, item number 17, you didn't get any quotes yet? We don't have them.
But like, did you get a written quote? Cause I don't have. any.
Can I forward that on you?
I have the email, but it doesn't
I
give.
got find that forward.
You got what?
Have a cost on them.
Is there an attachment? Just the email.
I have the email, but I don't have the.
Anyways, so the standalone kits for the buildings, for each department is $295 per kit. It's pretty robust. It's cool, 4-shelf kit.
You talking about the
Plastic
defibrillators?
box.
I think it's metal, but yeah, it's enclosed box.
Yeah.
They maintain them, based on our schedule. It's UniFirst, who supplies our uniform service. I know we used DC in the past, I guess. I have never used them, but I guess there's issues with them, overcharging for restocking and stuff like that. But they'll come, they'll probably start out once a month. They'll come, they'll inspect the cabinets. If something needs to be replaced, they'll replace. If nothing needs to be replaced,
That's what they do.
Well, the only thing you need to replace is,
Test your
if
son.
it's huge, you have to replace, obviously.
Test your son used to do it
The
for.
pads.
The D.
DZ,
Expiration.
they take care of all that.
State had them and the batteries generally go years from what I.
Well,
They're Phillips, I think.
Where do you have the quote?
250 you said, right? For cabinets.
Computers.
Where do you have the quote?
It was attached to email.
Why don't we just, we'll bring them in and we'll,
I'd like to, we have some issues.
bring them in and we'll bring in the quotes and we'll see tomorrow where we can find the money in the budget.
I mean, it's not a lot of money, it's $295.
The village board's willing to do that. Yeah, because I also need you to get quotes on 2 defibrillators. I'd like to see the village buy 2 this year and 2 next year, so that we have 1 in each building.
The recommendation is you should get an AED to somebody within 3 minutes. So, I mean, each department should have their own.
Yeah, well, yeah, but I mean, I think
They're not that expensive. They're-
Well, AEG is a type of defibrillator.
Yeah.
AED, that's what he's talking about.
Yeah.
That's what he's talking about.
But the mayor just said we should have defibrillators. But that-
Well,
So-
that's the AED. That's what he's
Yeah,
talking
but
about.
I'm talking about saying.
I mean, these things are pretty.
They have one over the town.
Yeah.
And they hear, but, yeah, let's see how much they are. And
They're only, they're between 3,000 and 4,000.
Oh, okay.
$4,000. Yeah.
3 or 4,000.
No, that-
Yeah,
that's
they're
safety
reused
boxes.
too. They're not,
Band-Aid
you
boxes.
don't have to throw them out when you use
The
them.
Band-Aid box.
Yeah, but no. Yeah, we're talking about 2 different things here now,
Yeah.
but I need to get a quote on that if you'd like, so I could put them in the budget.
I already got it.
Okay, all right, so
Yeah.
I'll see you tomorrow. Okay.
I'll be there.
all right.
So what is it gonna cost to restock them, or are they just gonna is that each time they come in, restock them, they'll bill you out for what they give you?
Yeah, whatever,
Yeah.
whatever needs to be. reached.
I have one of my.
No, I-
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, well, I'm talking the
Talking
$300
first aid kit or
the $300 first aid kits.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
The kids that you need for each building, and you said they're gonna come once a month, restock, they're not gonna charge it, they'll come back
Come
in.
once a week.
Yeah, but they're not gonna,
There's no charge if they don't.
If they don't bring
restock
anything.
They don't. there's no charge.
My experience with that, with the ones that the state had, was the same thing. I can't remember the name of the company.
Z Chemical,
Z.
it was Luke Tessier's
You just-
son.
You just had to watch them because they
Yeah, right.
load you up.
Load you up.
Well, you meet them, right, you go right with them, when they comes in, you have to see
Yeah,
somebody.
that's what I mean. You
Yeah,
gotta-
don't go to the kid, say, go get Tim at the treatment plant, he goes right with him, you open up the cabinet. The guy says, you need this, and this, Tim says yes. That's it, he doesn't go there, open it up and send you a whole bunch of, you gotta control it, because otherwise they do take
Is
advantage.
there something they need a contract though for? So we gotta sign a contract?
Yeah,
for
it's
them?
similar to what we have for uniforms.
Well, I think you
I'm
get
just trying to
different levels
resolve
in
it, because
first aid kit too.
Oh, there is, yeah, he'll have
A
to,
basic to a.
yeah, he'll have to
Okay.
figure out which one he wants.
No, it's important, I mean, I know my department, our first aid kit is pretty much non-existent.
So then if they're on
It's
it,
pretty much.
so like we wanted to give you the authorization, to go ahead and
Yeah.
put them in every
We did, yeah.
month.
So you wanna give Tim the authorization to go ahead and put him
If
in?
they're under, there's well, he said.
Yeah.
How many are you recommending we buy of the first aid kits?
One for each department.
One for each
So one for sanitation, one for DPW, one for water, one for the rec park. And probably a smaller, we talked about a smaller one for, Village Hall. Sure. Not the size that we would have, I mean, I don't think you're gonna have to apply tourniquets and stuff like that.
Do we need one for the record?
I'm saying it's good.
And,
You think we need-
there should be one.
Do you think we need one up for the rec park though?
Oh, yes, absolutely.
A big one like that? I'd just be more concerned about being up there and someone,
And where would we?
vandalize it.
Be keeping it at the
Well,
ball
it would
fields
be
and the
in
soccer
lines.
fields?
Give him access.
Yeah,
No.
he'd be around his office.
I wouldn't. put one
Hey,
up.
Tim, for the workplace one, isn't there a OSHA approved
That's the 24th.
kit, you know,
Right,
with certain
it's how long we
things
took
that
on
everyone
first aid kits and then we just bought $1.6 million.
Also, I recommend that we purchase individual kits for the vehicles. You know, they're $50, put behind the seat. So every vehicle has a first aid kit as
I
well.
think Walmart sells them at 10.
I'd like to talk about that one too. We're gonna spend more time on this and you're spending a $24 million, $750,000 treatment plan.
All this stuff is important.
Yeah, but I wanna make sure that they don't disappear.
Well, once again, that they will be, restocked. I mean, that's up to you know, foremen and department heads, make sure that,
Okay.
stuff stays where it's supposed to stay.
So you don't have any in the highway department, stuff like that in the highway department?
Well, no, there's a,
First
emergency
aid.
aid. Okay, in there.
But it's not stacked regularly.
Yeah, correct. Yeah.
There's no contract.
And the vehicles you're out working on the street, I mean, you're not gonna run back to DPW to get a tourniquet.
No, we're gonna call an ambulance.
Or even,
Not that you have a tourniquet.
even a citizen, you're out there walking down the street.
I mean, some departments will call an ambulance. The water department probably won't. Probably not. That's an inside joke. Okay, all right.
There goes the budget. I'm
Okay,
mandating.
so let me know tomorrow. We'll find the money in the,
Put a Band-Aid on.
okay,
I had one more question.
yes.
How many AEDs do you think?
One per department as well, one for Village Hall and one for Visitor Center.
Five.
I'll add 'em.
Do we,
I would say
How much are they?
15,000? That'd be about 15,000?
well, for the $4,000, and the way we might be able to get.
Well, we might have to,
Oxide
might have to get them
money
over a couple of years.
Oh.
I don't know. I think at the visitor center, you need people to be trained and know how to use them, and I don't know.
for- Well, it
Actually,
actually.
you don't,
But you don't,
Oh, you don't?
because it
Well,
falls on.
It's a computer that tells you.
you just turn it on and it
And it tells you how
gives
to
you
do
a
it.
You know,
narration.
you could use it.
You could.
Narration.
Still like
Exactly.
practice.
Down here.
Yeah, we've never been trained on it. I asked to be trained on it. They never showed us.
So the
Would
one
you
that-
ever turn it on and go through a test with it?
I didn't want to be in a position of, oh, how does this work?
It does, it tells you.
Bring in that.
Yeah, it's gotta
information
record it.
tomorrow, too, right?
The one you first recommends, it's got a bullseye on it. And you put the bullseye on this person's sternum. The pads are connected to the bullseye, so they go automatically where they're supposed to go. It doesn't do anything unless it sees a rhythm or something like that, it has to correct. And if you're doing CPR, it coaches you through doing CPR, you're not pushing hard enough. Tell you to go faster, you know, it speaks to you and tells you to do all that stuff. But you don't necessarily need to be trained in using the AED because, you know, it's pretty straightforward and any 911 operator can walk you through. You know, if you have any issues, but.
All right. John, you want to make a motion for the executive session?
I'll make a motion.
This is an executive session regarding a personnel matter.
Yeah. Pause the
Second?
recording, hold on.
Second.